Update V47 is finally out for the Quest 2, which means that you can now get Quest Pro controllers and start using them on the 2. Let's set these up and see how they are in comparison. So if you haven't kept up on what's going on in the industry, Quest Pro controllers are $300 for a set of them. They do their own tracking inside out with these cameras that are on here, and they've said they will be swappable if you wanted to get a set for your Quest 2 and use those instead. So we're gonna try and figure out, is it worth the upgrade if you've been thinking about doing something more for your Quest 2, but you don't wanna spring $1,500 for the entire Quest Pro. So step one to getting these paired up, after you've got them unboxed, charged, or if they came charged, go into your phone, find your MetaQuest app, go to Menu, Devices, find your Quest 2 that you're gonna be connecting this to. Hopefully you don't have a million of them on your list like I do. And then from here, we wanna go down to Controllers, and we're gonna wanna pair a new controller. So I wanna pair a MetaQuest Pro right controller. It's unpaired my right one for me. So to pair my right controller, I'm gonna hold B and the Oculus button for 4 seconds. Oh, I got a blue and some vibration. We're going blue and white. I hear beeping, and right controller paired. So it unpaired both of my controllers, it looks like. So now only this one is working. What I actually was thinking I was gonna do for the testing is I was gonna pair one of each so that I could really see them side by side. So I'm gonna try to pair a new MetaQuest left controller. Before you pair a new controller, your previous controller will be unpaired. Ah, sneaky. So it won't let me pair one controller of each. So for some reason, if you only bought one controller, this isn't gonna work out for you. Dang it. I really want it to let me use one of each. I'm gonna try again. It's vibrating. Why won't you just let people do what they want? Why is this impossible? Okay, it unpaired my Quest Pro controller again. We can only use the Quest Pros. We cannot use one of each. I see my left and I see my right. It's a miracle. Now, a big disclaimer I've got to tell you, even for now, from using these with the Quest Pro, you pick up your headset, you put it on, and then you grab your controllers afterwards. There is this delay. Sometimes it's like 3 seconds, sometimes it's almost 10 seconds. And if you're used to being in a Quest 2 and you grab those controllers and instantly everything is in front of you, you're ready to play, that's not always the experience with these. And if you just paid $300 and you feel like you pick up and you wait and you wait and you wait, that might feel kind of bad after how much you paid. So one thing that I've been trying to retrain myself to do kind of unsuccessfully is get my controllers first, because they're gonna sense that you're picking them up. And then if you put your headset on, hopefully they've had enough time to be ready for you by the time you get there. We're gonna do some first testing, show you some of how these are working here as we test out some different games, try and see if we can push these limits and mess them up in any way. And then I'm gonna take these for a couple days. This update just came out, so it's not even available for everyone yet. A couple days, we'll spend time with them, really taking them in depth on the Quest 2, and then come back at you with some final thoughts. So let's go somewhere we've got some room to actually play. So one thing in playing on the Quest Pro that I've really noticed about the Quest 2 controllers is that the lack of tracking rings seems to be the thing that I notice the most in games, because whether you're playing something, you're moving around, you just learn that you don't have to worry about them anymore. And then switching back to Quest 2, I noticed that I bang them on stuff a lot. So like for instance, in a game like Into the Radius, that has very intricate weapon mechanics, when it comes to reloading pistols was oftentimes really complex and annoying, because you can see right here where my hands are going to do this. I always wanted to bang my tracking rings together. And then especially when it came to manually chambering around, this motion, when you're quickly in a battle, you're trying to hurry up and load this, and do that with tracking rings here, you interacted a lot. Now, you might bump these edges, but that is a benefit. You just aren't getting in the way of each other anymore. So see what I'm talking about here? When I reach for the bolt on here, I had to learn I'd get it close, and then it gives you this bit of distance it makes up for you. You pull your trigger and then your hand moves there where your hand actually isn't, so that you can then do this action, because you really can't get in there with the way this tracking ring is right here. And it was something when I first started playing Into the Radius, it was very annoying. I really had to use it because, you know, if I'm in here reloading, it wasn't a big deal. But if you're in the middle of the game and you're frantically trying to hurry up and reload, it can mess you up. Getting mags isn't too hard, but I've played enough that I also know kind of how to be careful. If you were to just reach, it's not hard to accidentally be hitting these, or when you try and pump that in, it's not hard to accidentally do it. But over time with the Quest 2, I had to get used to it, where if you had the Quest Pro controls from the start, you would have never had these moments where you would have just reached and been able to do it instead of keep hitting it like this. I got used to reaching back here and doing it, or reaching up here and waiting for it to show up. So it's an inconvenience, yes, but it's not something that's gonna ruin the game. I still played through the game and had a great time playing this game. Of course, with something like a sniper rifle, when it comes to tracking with this, if you were someone who tended to get your scope way too close to your eye, you're not gonna have to worry about, is that tracking ring up here near this? I'm so used to having to play this way, like I put it way out here because I'm used to that in games, but you can kind of relearn and keep the scope closer further as you want to, which is a benefit. Now, one problem with Beat Saber when it comes to tracking issues is a lot of times you can't even see what's going on. When your controllers lose focus or lose tracking, they typically will end up correcting themselves before you can really catch it. The only thing that might happen is the controller might jump ahead or it might bounce, but because most of the time the way you play, your controllers are out of your view, you don't even see that happening. It's captured a lot of times if you play a lot of mixed reality, but if you just are playing like this, you'll think, oh, I missed a note, and you won't have any idea that you didn't miss the note. But it's because your controller had lost sight just long enough that it went and did its own thing. And right there, it's uncertain where the controller's going, and it stayed and it snapped back into place in my hand. I didn't miss the note as a result, but this is something if I was playing in first person, you wouldn't be able to see where that happened. It's down, I swing, and it came up just in time, and instead of slicing directly through the middle of the block like it should have, it was still off and down to my side. So when it met my hand, it came up to the right and then cut the corner of the block instead of cutting directly from the bottom like I had swung. So here's another example of it. I swing. So when I swung out to hit the note, it stayed, but then it snapped back just in time and didn't break my combo there. But as someone who's spent a lot of hours playing Beat Saber on the Quest 2 with the stock controllers, typically with a set of grips on, so this feels a little weird doing it without grips. I mean, it's very capable. And when it does make a mistake, like I said, you probably don't even know it does. An interesting thing that's come up, as a few people have been able to try this so far and commented. Some people like me, when I tried the Quest Pro controllers on the Quest Pro, I was like, wow, Beat Saber, it feels so smooth, everything feels so perfect. Call me crazy, but I feel like this is tracking way better. Way better. I feel almost like I'm on a Valve Index again. But some people said, well, I'm not so sure if it's just the controllers, but it's the fact that the Quest 2 lags a little bit sometimes and the frames drop in Beat Saber, and that is what's causing them to miss the notes. So on the Quest Pro, when everything felt so fluid and smooth, it could really be more that the Quest Pro is just keeping up really well, never dropping frames, and the Quest 2 was being an issue. Because I've gotta say, so far, I feel like I'm doing really poorly playing on Expert Plus. And that like snappiness I was talking about that I noticed on the Quest Pro, I'm not quite sure if I'm feeling that. I am recording on advanced camera settings as well. So I think after this song, I'm gonna turn off recording on the Quest and take a slower song and just really try and get a feel for how these are working. 85.2%, so not stellar. All right, I'm gonna kill the recording for a second and play for a few. It definitely does seem like the lag that I'm used to playing on the Quest 2, even with these controllers, is still present. So it may actually be more to do with processing the signal and the speed that the headset's keeping up as opposed to actual controller tracking. So that's interesting. Well, the jury's out on Beat Saber. That is why I'm gonna be spending several days with these, because I'm going to go play on a Quest 2 with Quest 2 controllers. I'm gonna play on the Quest Pro with Pro controllers. I'm gonna play again on this with this setup and kind of see what exactly is happening. We've got some other games to test out too and look at, but so far I feel like for some reason the Quest Pro controllers aren't feeling nearly as good on the Quest 2 as they were on the Quest Pro when it comes to Beat Saber and Expert Plus. So we'll get back at you with some more here soon. After years of playing a Quest 2 with Quest 2 controllers, months of playing a Quest Pro with Pro controllers, and about a week since V47 rolled out and I can now use the Quest Pro controllers on the Quest 2, let's talk about thoughts here. We tried a lot of different things. I've done a lot of gaming with these and you got to see some of it. I think overall, the biggest thing that I noticed in using these specifically on the Quest 2 actually was the bow and arrow games. The more you play them, the more those little weird moments that happen where you end up wasting an arrow or tossing an arrow, you just think, okay, something went wrong with the tracking, it bounced. I started to think, okay, these were doing it a little better. Not a huge amount, but enough better that it was noticeable throughout playing the game. The bow and arrow was something that when the Quest 2 first came out, it was a lot more trouble to use it. But over time with the Quest 2 controllers, it's gotten a lot steadier. So when you pull back the arrow, software updates and stuff, even on Quest 2 controllers, this isn't usually an issue like it used to be. But with this thing, I mean, I pull this back, and besides my actual physical drift, I mean, there's very little drifting with that arrow. Because it used to be if you got back here and the headset couldn't see the controller more, it just wanted to drift a little bit on you. But now, and we'll show you this with Quest 2 controllers too, But now, I mean, I can go back here anywhere and I can pull this thing all around behind my head where the Quest can't see it, and it's tracking the room around me. That's not a problem anymore with these controllers. That is very steady. That tiny bit of shake is me physically moving. You can compare it though, like with the Quest 2 controllers, is it causing that much of a change in behavior, that much of a difference? So there it's actually lost tracking, although who's gonna be playing with their hand back here? It does snap back more than you'd expect when it's still like out of view of the Quest. So see, this is something, like I'm saying, through the Quest, they've really improved over time. So I mean, I can go back here, and I know the headset can't see the controller right now, but it is staying very stable. There's a little bit like this one right here. I feel my arrows over here, but it looks like it's coming right out of my mouth right now. So you do have to still sometimes aim more based off what the arrow's doing than learn where your actual hand position is. But I mean, you have to be getting way back here. Most people play in death, they're pulling arrows here and letting go quickly. I'm just trying to push this because I'm trying to find where the tracking actually screws up. It does a pretty good job of figuring out where that controller is still. If you do it enough, that's when I start to notice, like right now, it feels like this arrow should be to the right quite a bit at the back end. But for casual in-depth playing, I don't think you're gonna have that many issues that you're gonna be like, oh, I need those pro controllers. Once the controller is actually experiencing full occlusion, so the headset can no longer see it, it kind of locks it where it was, where it last saw it. And then that still allows the gyroscopes to give you the ability to turn. And that still makes it seem like it knows what it's doing. When I do get it back here and then I start to move it around, I can get the control, I can move it quite a ways, and it's not really keeping up, but it's hard to actually make it mess up. This isn't something I think you're gonna experience very often in a game like this. Beat Saber was actually more of a wash than I expected, because when I tried them on the Quest Pro, it seemed like it was night and day. Everything seemed so responsive and so fast. And then when I tried on the Quest 2, over time, it felt like I was missing less notes with the Pro controllers, but I didn't get that same sense of like, I moved it and it just was perfectly in time with my movements. It still felt like the Quest 2 controllers typically do, where there's like just this tiniest bit of lag and it's hard to tell it's there. But if you've played a lot of PC VR Beat Saber, you can tell it's there. On the Quest Pro, it felt like it was a PC VR again, and on the Quest 2, even with these controllers, didn't quite feel that way. With the golf club, we were able to actually show you, okay, it is jittering a bit with the Quest 2 controllers at times if you get it out of frame, enough when you're swinging your golf club back that there was a little bit of movement and stuff, but it still wasn't a huge amount for the Quest 2 controllers. So the hardest thing to really measure about whether the tracking is working better is that when you're looking at your controller, the headset can also see the controller. It's not gonna have as much of a problem then because it can see those tracking rings. So what I've done here, we're in Golf Plus. I've got my long golf club here that you can see. And so when you go to swing the golf club, it's hard to know, but sometimes when you get back here, your golf club may not be doing what you think. I can still keep the golf club in view, but I can keep the actual controller out of view, and it seems extremely solid. We'll do the same testing with the Quest 2 and see if we have problems with that. Because right now, a Quest 2, I mean, this is way back here. It wouldn't be able to see it at all, especially if I'm looking like this. Let's see if I can still even hit a ball in this game. Huh, that would have been a great hit if it was in the right direction, actually. I want to get you to mess up. How do I get you to mess up? If I just cover all of them? Oh, there we go. That seems to be the only way to screw up this thing's tracking, is just completely cover its cameras. It tries to figure it out though. It's still using the gyroscopes and stuff to see what its orientation side's like. It just locks it in place to your side here. So far, so good on that. One problem that I was having when I first tested these controllers, so let's see if they fixed that better. If I walked away from my play space, my hand wouldn't align anymore. So I'm gonna leave and come back and see if this snaps back where it was. Oh boy, that confused it good. Oh boy. I probably should turn off the recording in it because it's all over the place now. Okay, the controller seems to be tracking perfectly. Home. Controller is exactly where it was before. So maybe they patched that, or maybe I just got lucky there. We'll try it once more and see if I can get myself sick here. Okay, go out there if you're gonna go out there. Boy, did they fix that issue? Yeah, perfect again. Okay, I really hope that update fixed it, because they did say they're gonna try and fix some stuff with the Quest Pro as well with the V47 update, but hand is exactly back where it should be. We're back in Golf Plus with the Quest 2 controller now instead. So this is what I was talking about earlier. If you get it back here and out of view, will we be able to mess it up? you can see it kind of juddering around like it's not staying smooth. And this isn't something you're gonna notice if you have the golf club in front of you, you're just looking at it. But if you have this on a golf club back here, it begs the question, what is it doing when you pull it back and it's behind you and it can no longer see it? And unfortunately, we really wanted to use mixed reality to help you understand what it's doing, help you see back there, but it seems like with V47 update, Live has stopped working at the moment. So like if I take it up here and I wait, once the headset loses tracking, you can see it starts to drift around. But they've done a lot of software compensation to keep it from getting too bad. Like, unlike when you first got the Quest, you did this and all of a sudden your controller would start running across the room from you. Now it stays in place, it uses the other sensors, and it really doesn't lose track of it terribly. It really just starts to kind of, you see it starting to do that bouncing right there, even though I'm holding it steady. That's the main thing that starts happening. And immediately once it sees it, it instantly snaps back. So if you were to go for your swing and you pull it back here, right now it might not know where it is, but then by the time it hits there, it's actually aiming right. And this time I was actually sort of aiming the direction I should have been for my shot. So are the Pro controllers better? Yeah, but 300 bucks, that's not a small chunk of change. Oh gosh, that's a long putt. Oh gosh, but the greens are very fast. I always forget that in this game. Still too hard. Boom. So are they worth $300 for your Quest 2 as an upgrade? That's almost the price of another Quest right now, especially with the holiday bundle that's going on. So I will say, if you already owned another Quest and your Quest, you love it, you spend tons of time in it, you've spent $400 in different accessories and upgrades on it, it might be worth it for you. Because you've already sank a lot of money, you have enough Quests around the house, and you want to take it that step further. This is a step further, but it's a small step, and you're also getting robbed of something. What you're getting robbed of is the experience of using these on a Quest Pro. You play the games on a Quest Pro, you played forever on a Quest 2 with these controllers, and it feels very different and it feels really good. But I don't think you would regret buying these because you'll have these in the future. If you got a Quest Pro, you'll still have these. If the Quest 3 comes out, with how advanced these controllers are, I'd be surprised if these aren't the controllers or at least compatible when that happens. So I think that these are an investment that you probably wouldn't regret purchasing, but for your average Quest user who's not spending a ton of money or playing it, $300 is a lot. You can get another Quest and you can play games with your friends instead. I feel like that's more of a worthwhile purchase. That's my thoughts. If you are someone who, because of your environment, something you've dealt with in the past, you find that the Quest 2 controllers are kind of a glitchy mess and they bounce around, or maybe you have stick drift by now, that's also another factor if you need to replace them anyways, and it's gonna cost you 140 bucks to replace the two of them. It's still a lot more money, but you'll probably get these and not having those tracking issues, it might be like, oh my goodness. The only thing I could think that might make you regret getting these is if you are used to the Quest 2 controllers already, they work really well in your environment, you don't know it's tracking, and you're someone who puts your headset on, grabs your controllers, you click on Supernatural at Beat Saber really quick, and you're in the game. Where if you pick these up, and you gotta wait those 6 to 10 seconds sometimes that happens, you're gonna notice that every time, and if you're paid $300, you might start to think, wow, I paid that much to be sitting here waiting to play my game every time. So this will be subjective person to person, especially based on your environment, how old your controllers are, how they're tracking at this point. Some people have bought these and seem really happy with them. Other people have tried them and said they didn't notice a difference. So what do you think? I'd love to hear in the comments and chat with you about it, but I wanna say thank you so much for coming out. I'm glad we finally got this out to you after all those issues trying to get them to work before, but I will see you in another reality.